Good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to BESTERNS 2017. My name is Mr. Clitter. Little technical difficulties we're working on, but hey, nothing we can't handle. We're going to get back to the action right now. Glad you are joining us. This bout that we have starting right now at noon is the Kansas City Roller Warriors from Kansas City, Missouri, squaring off against the Wasatch Roller Derby Midnight Terror. Both of these teams looking to turn around their fortunes from yesterday's activity. Kansas City losing a tough one yesterday morning to Sac City, and Wasatch in the 8 o'clock game last night losing one to Rocky Mountain. So everybody looking for the first victory here of the tournament. So far, so good for Kansas City, as Jessica Boom is your first jammer. She grabbed lead jammer, has 5 points on the board already, making that other pass, that second pass, a quick tap with the hips is going to put 4 more on the board. So Kansas City's going to draw first blood, 9-0. Ole Chole was your jammer for Wasatch, but Wasatch held scoreless in the first frame. We've got Wasatch wearing the blue, in case things aren't quite going through as clearly as you like to see them on your screen. They're the darker version of the skaters that you see. Kansas City wearing their gray. It probably appears more of a whitest hue on your screen. They are also wearing the black bottoms. We've got Accelerator jamming for Kansas City, and Smashley out there for Midnight Terror. It's going to be Smashley who grabs that lead status really quickly, their first lead call of the bout. Smashley making her first pass at turn 1. Little bumping around, jumping and jiving. Going on the outside, popping back to the inside, and on the backstretch going backwards. Smashley puts Midnight Terror on the board. That's going to be 5 points for Wasatch. And there's one more time. Smashley fighting off the last line of defense, which was actually Accelerator, who had taken the star cover off of the helmet. That's going to be 5 more points and a quick lead change on Jam 2. So tit for tat. Wasatch now up by 1 point. 27 minutes, 20 seconds remaining in the first half. Wasatch have made a few trips to BESTERNS. As far as I believe, the Kansas City Roller Warriors have not been out here for this event just yet. This is their first trip. Suki Slaphouse wearing the star for Wasatch. Going to be squaring off against Skatel Attraction for Kansas City. It's going to be Suki. Suki's your lead, and our first penalty of the bout goes to Enigma. For Kansas City, Enigma just played lights out in that first game yesterday against Sac City. Was all over the track. Going to be a big asset for the Roller Warriors during this bout. Skill Attraction out of the pack, making her way to the pack at turn 1. And just as that happens, the frame is called off by Suki. So Wasatch is going to win their second jam in a row, this by a score of 8-0, bringing their total to 18. Kansas City holding steady at 9, all 9 of those points coming on the first jam of the bout.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to stream what we got done at this point.
Evilness wearing the star for the Road Warriors, and the captain of the Midnight Terror, Ole Chole, out there for Wasatch. Ole fighting through turn 1, now into turn 2, and on the back stretch, there is your lead jammer. Evilness still fighting through at turn 1. Wasatch seems to have her numbers so far, but on the back stretch, always seems to be a little bit extra room there, and that's where the jammers find an opportunity to get through. Yoko Ono, you didn't head to the penalty box as the jam gets called off. 3 jams in a row that Wasatch is going to win, 22-9. They win that frame by a score of 4-0. We've got lots of action still coming your way for BESTERNS 2017. The next bout that we have scheduled to kick off at 2 p.m. features the winner of a couple of games. First of all, we're going to have Boulder County, who won earlier today, squaring off against the winner of this bout. So either Kansas City or Wasatch will be doing a doubleheader. Of course, they'd like to be in that because that means that they win this one. Smashley wearing the star for Wasatch, grabs lead status very, very quickly. Jessica Boom still fighting through now at the pivot line. Dealing with that 4-wall, Smashley goes airborne. And that is going to be a big 5 points for Midnight Terror. Especially had some struggles in that first bout of the tournament last night with Rocky Mountain, but shaking it all off and coming out with authority thus far in this bout. Enigma's penalty expires, so Enigma joins the defensive front for Kansas City. As Smashley gets bumped off on the track and has to recycle all the way back to the jam line. Jessica Boom meets a similar fate as well. Jessica Boom has taken off that star cover, trying to get that pass going. And oh, Jessica Boom puts the kaboom with authority, leading into the defensive front of Wasatch. Triple X probably going to have a bruise on her shoulder from Jessica Boom's shoulder. Smashley on that backstretch faces a 3-wall, pushing it into turn 3. Now it's been rebraced into a 4-wall. And Jessica Boom coming out of nowhere and putting 4 points up top for Kansas City. Smashley fights through a 2-wall and puts 4 on the board herself and taps the jam off. It's 36-13, and Kansas City wants to talk about some stuff, so they call a timeout. 23 minutes, 29 seconds to go in the first half.
All right, we've got 2 back up. Okay. So, once I give you the thumbs up over there, down one camera gets the whole track. We've got 2 now. Yeah. But we can get the one that we can. So, once I get that one.
My name is Mr. Clitter, hanging out with you here from Denver, Colorado, day 2 of BESTERNS 2017. This is the 3rd bout of the day. It's going to be the 10th bout overall. We've got a grand total of 7 bouts today. We had 7 yesterday. We've got 5 tomorrow until we crown a champion. 11 teams from all around the West. Sac City, kind of the Cinderella story. They've come in as one of the lower seeds. 2 quick victories have put them in the semifinals, so they square off against Arizona. The other semifinal match will be Rocky Mountain going to battle against Jet City, and the winner of those 2 bouts will be in the final at 5 p.m. Mountain Time tomorrow evening. So we crown the BESTERNS 2017 champion. Back on the track after the timeout, we've got Accelerator going to work for Kansas City. And it's Chiquita Wabamia donning the star for the first time all weekend for Midnight Terror. The Midnight Terror contingent here in the building made aware of that and chanting Chiquita over and over, trying to encourage her on. She comes around turn 2. With a little bit of a tumble there at turn 2. She does not have to recycle back. Chiquita, Midnight Terror, lead jammer. Star pass initiated and completed on the Kansas City side. So Lady Killshot is now your jammer of record for KC, as Chiquita hits the pack hard, hits the track even harder, and calls a halt to the action as Midnight Terror tallies 2 points during the frame. Wasatch coming all the way from the Salt Lake City, Utah area, and obviously by the name, the Kansas City Roller Warriors come from Kansas City, Missouri. If you're just joining us, Kansas City wearing the lighter jerseys, Wasatch wearing the darker jerseys. Relatively clean game. We've had a few penalties, but no big power jams, no big extended penalties that have given one team an advantage over the other. Ole Chole, the captain for Wasatch, through the pack very, very quickly as your lead jammer. On the other side, Scale Attraction gets bumped off pretty quickly and has to recycle back to turn 4. Ole bumped off at the pivot line, has got to recycle back. That's Enigma, the aforementioned Enigma, who was so good yesterday, continuing that effort today. Scale Attraction just finding no room with that Wasatch D. Right now it's a 3-wall at the pivot line. And then a big pile up at turn 1. Scale Attraction getting involved in that. She still has that helmet cover in her hand, looking to pass that off to the pivot, but the pivot's been so busy trying to play defense. That's Enigma. But I don't know that the message has been relayed to Enigma that we're trying to pass that star off. Ole at turn 2 getting bumped off on the inside part. Looks like Pebbles involved in the defensive action there. Star pass finally completed for Kansas City, so Enigma now your jammer, as Ole emphatically calling it off on the backstretch. It's going to be a 5-point tally for Wasatch, bringing their total to 43, giving them a 30-point advantage over Kansas City, 43-13. 20 minutes, 42 seconds to go here in the first half. Evilness back on the line for Kansas City. Squaring off against Smashley for Wasatch. 5-on-5 derby. I see an empty penalty box in front of me. Oh, Smashley found a seam on the outside. I had a perfect view of that. There was not a lot of room on the track and somehow kept both skates on the track, zipped through. Lead jammer. Midnight Terror. Lady Killshot takes the star for Kansas City and is your jammer as Smashley makes one pass and puts a halt to things with a quick tap of the hips. Wasatch, after losing that first jam 9-0, has taken command of the rest of the action and has been on a 47-4 run. Another jam with 5-on-5 action. Jessica Boone wearing the star there. KC. Sookie Slaphouse on that outside path. I think Wasatch has found a recipe for success on the outside. There is your lead call. Penalty assessed to Chiquita for Wasatch, so they are going to be down one blocker. Jessica Boone finds a seam at turn 2. Now eligible for points. Sookie attempts the scoring pass, gets bumped off on the outside part of the backstretch. A tap of those hips. Wasatch continuing that dominance with a 3-0 run there. 50-13, just under 19 to go in the first half. A 4-3 pack advantage when the whistle blows in favor of the Roller Warriors. It's going to be Accelerator trying to take advantage of that pack situation. The captain, Oli Chole, out there for Wasatch again. Really working hard so far. Turn 1's where it happens. That's where the captain, Oli Chole, grabs that lead status. And as we've typically seen in Derby, the immediate reaction by Kansas City is to take that star cover off, hand it to their pivot. So Lady Killshot is now your jammer for KC. As Ole hits the pack, turns around, sees Lady Killshot on the move, and taps the hips 2 on the board for Wasatch. Both of these teams having a tough go of it yesterday, so nobody skated today, however. This is everybody's first bout of the day. Definitely looks like Wasatch had an opportunity to recover a bit better. Smashley just uses those toe stops so well on the outside part of the track and took that Kansas City wall, trimmed it quickly down to just the one blocker Enigma, and on the backstretch finds a path. There is your lead jammer. On the other side, Sookie Slaphouse. The pivot for Wasatch in the penalty box, so Midnight Terror down one blocker. Scale Attraction has found that seam, and both jammers are eligible for points. Smashley gets bumped off and has to go back to turn 1 to rejoin the action. She does just that, and at turn 2, gets through the pack, calls off the jam. Wasatch, a 5-0 run, bringing a total to 57-13 in favor of the skaters from Salt Lake. Looks like an official review called on the track with 16 minutes and 53 seconds to go in the first half. I'm going to bend an ear that way, see if we can find out just what the official review is and what the result happens to be. The review was called by Kansas City. They were pretty emphatic about it. Anytime I see that, I like to think that that means they're very, very confident and have a very good case to overturn a call. We'll just see if that happens to be the result this time. Thank you all so much again for joining us. Hey, feel free to send us a message. Got a bunch of you watching. You can send us a message. Disparaging comments about me, I'm not really too concerned. I've been called worse, I'm sure. Or any tips, any fun facts about any of these teams? Take what we can get.
A request has been issued for a track against Wasatch's Jammer.
It looks like Kansas City is trying to get a track cut on Wasatch's Jammer. If I had to guess, right off the whistle, Smashley had used those toe stops on the outside part, just past the jam line. That's about where I am, by the way, right behind the penalty box. It did appear to me that there could be a case for a track cut there. There wasn't one called, and that was right off the whistle. So the Zebras, who had probably a better view than I, decided to swallow the whistle. We'll just see after the discussion if somebody else had a different view that could overturn that call.
We do see poised for the next jam, number 19, Shakira Bamia for Wasatch, and number 84, Evilness for Kansas City.
I know the calendar just turned to June, folks, but you know not too far down the line, we'll be talking about playoffs and championships. For instance, August 18th through 20th, the Division II playoffs and championships get going in Pittsburgh. Steel City's going to host that one. We've also got Division I playoffs starting September 1st through 3rd in Seattle. Then a week after that, the 8th through the 10th, they continue in Malmö, Sweden, hosted by Crime City. Things continue later in September, the 22nd to 24th in Dallas, Texas. The Dallas Derby Devils going to host that. And then Champs, Division I Championships, November 3rd through 5th in Philly, hosted by Philly Roller Derby. It won't be long before the entire Derby community is absolutely glued to their devices, listening in, watching in, if you can't be in attendance. But that is definitely a spectacle that I think you got to be in person to fully experience and appreciate. Hey, it looks like the official review from Kansas City is 1. Smashley sent to the penalty box on that track cut, so a power opportunity for Kansas City. And Jessica Boom, maybe get the Roller Warriors back into the mix. There goes Kaboom on the backstretch. She is your lead jammer. The Roller Warriors trying to get something going. Had a hot start of that first jam, then after that it was difficult. That's exactly how you do it. Jessica Boom with a nice apex jump at turn 2, putting a grand slam up top for the ladies from KC. Smashley serves her penalty, is out of the box, making her way through the pack as Jessica Boom goes down hard at turn 2. Looks like she took a shot to the head. Hopefully she is okay. EMT's going to go take a peek. Clearing the track on an injury timeout. Got to say, we've been very, very lucky thus far this weekend. We've had very little activity for our EMTs to work with, which is exactly the way we like it. All right, Jessica Boom up and moving back to the bench. Good to see that. 16 minutes to go in the first half. Your current score, 57-19 in favor of Wasatch. Wasatch has been held at the 13-point mark for quite a while. So that jam, their highest scoring jam since the very first of the bout, in which they scored 9 points. We're going to have Evilness versus Ole Chole on the line. Familiar territory for both of these skaters. They've been there all weekend long. Looks like the pack advantage is going to be 4-3 for Wasatch. As Lady Killshot still hanging out in the penalty box, she is your pivot for KC. And that whistle begins the action again. Clock starts a running. Ole attacking that 3-wall, now pushing it up towards the pivot line. Nice spin move, trims it down to a 2-wall and on the inside path. Ole on the toe stops. Lead jammer for Wasatch. Going back to the other side of the track. Evilness having all kinds of fits with the Wasatch defense, just now getting to turn one as Ole Chole cruises through the pack like a Sunday drive. And that's 5 up top for the Midnight Terror. There goes Ole. One more time. It's going to be 4 up top. A grand total of 9 during the frame. And they continue to frustrate Kansas City defensively. Kansas City is not going to tally a point during this frame. Chiquita back out there for Wasatch, an accelerator, donning the star for Kansas City. Chiquita bumped off at the pivot line, hopped back onto the track, but it's going to be declared a track cut. No, check that. They reversed that call. It is lead jammer for Chiquita. I apologize. Accelerator not too far behind. Eligible for points. Chiquita hits the pack, gets bumped off on the outside, taps those hips violently. No points for either squad. Next jam, twice as many points. You do the math. When the whistle blows, we're going to have Smashley and Skatel Attraction dancing under the starlight. Pack's going to set up really, really close to the jam line. Smashley once again going outside, really likes that this time. Gets bumped off, but hops back to work really quick, and on the inside path gets bumped off at turn 2. Skatel Attraction bumped off on the outside part of turn 2, recycling way, way back. But an opportunity for his Smashley sent to the penalty box on a back block. Kansas City sure could feast on an opportunity like this. And there's the first step, Skatel Attraction. Lead jammer on the backstretch, Kansas City. Pack kind of separates around the backstretch. They're going to reform here in just a second. Kansas City going to let Skatel Attraction attack the blockers first and then try to clear off the outside. That's exactly what Enigma does. Great job there by the blocker. 5 points for Kansas City. Smashley penalty expires, so she is on her way back to attack the pack. A Skatel Attraction getting frustrated by the Wasatch defense on the backstretch. There just is not a lot of room. It's like they're all secured with Gorilla Glue and nobody has anything to pry it all apart. Smashley, though, through the pack, initial pass completed. Now looking for points. A Skatel Attraction on the inside seam has scored some points. I'm not sure if she got all 4, but a tap of the hips sends her to the track as well. Did get all 4. She did get all 4. So that's going to be a 9-0 run by Kansas City. Nice little building block there. 66-28 is your score. 12 minutes to go in the first half. In baseball, they use the term that you can't hit a 5-run home run. I think that's exactly the idea that Kansas City has to take here. Little building blocks, little pennies in that penny buck will lead up to nickels, will lead up to dimes. The next thing you know, you've got big bucks in the bank. If Kansas City can start to chip away at what Wasatch has done, then they can be within striking distance. It won't happen immediately, but as the minutes tick away, you can get there. Ole Chole, lead jammer, and a huge hop across the apex. That's going to be 4 points for Wasatch, but good job by Jessica Boom, who was jamming for KC, staying aggressive. They get 2 of their own.
Number 84, Evilness for Kansas City.
Evilness and Suki Slaphouse. Squaring off. It's going to be Evilness for Kansas City on the inside path. Your lead jammer. Kansas City looking like some of these adjustments they're making may start to pay off. Evilness bumped off at turn 1. It's got to recycle pretty far back. Enigma recycling back as Suki Slaphouse also got bumped off the track. Hey, good hit there. Kansas City, Foxy Brown getting in on the mix. Evilness continuing to push through the wall. Now getting it down to turn 2. Suki Slaphouse still on that initial pass with the star cover in her hand. Gets bumped off on the backstretch. Kansas City presenting a riddle here for Wasatch. And then Enigma recycles back to turn 2 and presents the track like, here you go. This is how you get on the track. This is where you should be. And this is where I'll be waiting for you. So please join us for some more fun. That's exactly what happens, too, as Suki Slaphouse gets back on the track and gets bumped off on the inside part of the backstretch. Kansas City slowly chipping away at that boulder. That's 5 points for the Roller Warriors. Now 70-35. 35 points separate these teams. 9.5 to go in the first half. So after that initial success that Kansas City had, they went through this big drought of points. However, relatively speaking, you could have much, much worse than just a 35-point deficit. That's nothing in roller derby, and Kansas City can certainly overcome that with a couple of adjustments here or there. Smashley going outside as your jammer for Wasatch. Smashley making it count. She is your lead jammer. It's like we got accelerator wearing the star for Kansas City. Finds a way through on the initial pass at turn 1. As Smashley hitting it, Smashley quitting it. 4-0, Wasatch. Once again, a reminder, the winning team here will skate against the Boulder County Balmers All-Stars immediately following this bout. That begins at 2 p.m. Holy Charlie done in the star for Wasatch. It's Jessica Boom, who flies through the pack, though. Lead jammer for Kansas City. Pack's hovering right around turn 1 where Jessica Boom tries to go airborne. Doesn't quite land it. No points are going to be awarded for either squad. It sure was fancy, though. Chiquita Wabamia, Dawn in the star for Wasatch. They seem to be going with a 4-jammer rotation so far. Kansas City doing exactly the same thing. Chiquita going outside, getting pushed around by a 4-wall at the pivot line. It's going to be skatal attraction for Kansas City, who gets bumped off. And then recycled back by Penny Slane. It's going to be a power jam for Kansas City as well, as Chiquita goes to the penalty box. Skatal traction, though, still struggling to get through on that initial pass. However, it may help that now all of her blockers can concentrate on getting her through the pack. Skatal traction goes outside, quickly has the wall trimmed down to the 1 defender. And there we go. On the backstretch, skatal traction, lead jammer, Kansas City. Chiquita set free for Wasatch, so both jammers on the track. 5 in the sky for Kansas City. Chiquita's still on her initial pass, so Kansas City can keep this rolling, trying to make up a little bit of that 35-point deficit that they had just a second ago. It's like an out-of-play block is going to be called on Lady Killshot, so Kansas City will be down 1 blocker. Also have a back block called on skatal attraction, negating the power jam for Kansas City and handing it over to Wasatch. Chiquita passes through for 5 for the Midnight Terror. It also means we're going to go the full 2-minute jam, as Scandal Attraction was our lead jammer. Chiquita pasa por el grupo, dice que sí se puede. 5 puntos para las Damas de Utah. Dos minutos se acabó. Y al fin de este, Wasatch 84, Kansas City 40 puntos, 5 minutos 30 segundos en el primer tiempo. We got an official review during that last jam. Wasatch wants to take a look at something that happened during that frame. Kind of bend my ear over the booth here, see if I can figure some stuff out and report that on to you. We've got 5 minutes, 15 seconds to go here in the first half. Wasatch 87, Kansas City 40. If you are just joining us, Kansas City's wearing the light color jerseys. Wasatch wearing their dark. They are actually in their dark blues. Kansas City started out strong. That first jam took a commanding 9-0 lead. After that, it was all Wasatch. At one point in time, going on a 47-4 run. In the last few minutes, though, Kansas City started to find some success, different areas of the game, and they have narrowed that gap. It's now 47 points, separating the two squads. Kansas City definitely skating like a team that's figured some stuff out and wants to play to their strengths over the last several minutes. So it looks like Wasatch challenging and wants a forearm penalty on the jammer for Wasatch. Check that, Wasatch wants a penalty on the Kansas City jammer. We don't know the outcome just yet, but I'll take a peek and see just how this plays out. Looks like we've got a decision. We're just going to go ahead and transmit that out to the captains of both of these squads. That message has been delivered. And judging by the fact that there are 2 jammers remaining on the track, it looks like Wasatch is going to lose that challenge. So for the remaining 5 minutes, 15 seconds, they will not be able to challenge anything. Smashley out there for Wasatch. And Eve Illness done in the star for Kansas City. Smashley tried that outside path. Enigma's right there. It looks like Kansas City trying to make that adjustment, taking away that outside path for Smashley, because she has absolutely dominated that area of the track in this first half. Eve Illness trying to go right up the middle, and not a lot of room given there either. Smashley at turn 1. As things start to wear down in the pack and you get a little bit more room to work with, she grabs that lead call. Eve Illness trying to work through at turn 1. Takes that cover off of her helmet. Smashley shaking up, big hit on the inside part of turn 1. She taps those hips. Looks to be shooken up there, and our EMTs on the way out. She looks to be a little shaken up, but I can see her nodding her head and read the lips saying that she is okay. So that is a good sign, because that was pretty good contact that we saw between turns 1 and 2. 4:07 remaining in the first half, 88-40 in favor of Wasatch. It's like an official timeout, maybe just to get things reset after that injury because the jam was called due to a call-off, not because of the injury. The skaters were kind of giving everybody space, giving the EMTs to get time to get out there, and because of that, we'd have been really, really closely pressed to get that next jam off, so a quick official timeout will allow everybody to reset. There's the end of that official timeout. So the next whistle gets us back to work. Ole Chole wearing the star for Wasatch, and it is going to be Accelerator out there for Kansas City. Ole with a shoulder and a spin move. And then a track cut called on Ole. What I did not quite catch was whether or not Lee Jammer was given to her before the penalty. And immediately it won't matter because Kansas City takes that star cover off and gives it to Lady Killshot. So Lady Killshot is on a power opportunity. You can't be the lead jammer if you do it, if you're wearing the star as the pivot. So we're going to skate 2 full minutes regardless. 4 points up top for Kansas City. Lady Killshot looking for some momentum to take with Kansas City into the locker room as the first half closes out. Killshot hits the pack but gets called on a low block, so we're going to flip this power jam. It's going to be pretty much a full 30-second penalty that Lady Killshot will serve as Ole was released just before Killshot hit the penalty box. Ole threw on that initial pass, giving a signal to her blockers at turn 2. A little bit of delayed offense as Ole goes outside her blockers, clear off the inside path. Nicely done. And a 5-point grand slam for Midnight Terror. Making it look easy on that pass. That's another grand slam for the skaters from Utah. Lady Killshot's penalty is served. Fancy footwork, but just barely gets bumped off between turns 3 and 4. Ole tried a big apex jump, did not land it. Has to recycle pretty far back, actually almost to turn 2 to rejoin the action as Killshot cruises through. And Kansas City's on a bit of a roll here. That's 4 more points. Raina Payne going to the penalty box for the Warriors. Low block call on Accelerator, so Kansas City in a little bit of penalty trouble with 2 blockers now in the penalty box. 2 minutes expires. And with 1 minute, 55 seconds to go in the first half, Wasatch 105, Kansas City 53.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Is that not right? No, that's what I want. Okay.
Jessica Boom is out there for Kansas City. Familiar territory there, but Carpe Jugulum, who jammed yesterday but has not been on the star line yet today, is doing just that for Wasatch. Jessica Boom bumping Jugulum off on the outside part. Jugulum back to work and attacks on the inside. Now faces that 2 wall of Kansas City defenders at turn 1. And Carpe Jugulum is your lead jammer. Jessica Boom with a nice bit of footwork at turn 1. Gets through on that initial pass. Jugulum bumped off at 4. Taps the hips. Wasatch is going to win that frame 4-0. Empty penalty box, so Kansas City survived some of that penalty issue that they faced last jam. They had 2 blockers in the box. Now they got that full complement. Wasatch did a relatively good job of staying out of the penalty box, so they have all 4 of their blockers out there as well. Smashley's wearing the star, trying that outside path that she has been so successful with all day long. Skittle traction out there for Kansas City, facing a 3-wall right at the pivot line. Smashley, turn 2, lead jammer, Wasatch. Skittle traction bumped off on the inside part of turn 1, gets recycled back by Penny Slane. As Smashley has been owning it so far in the first half. That's 5 points for the skaters in blue. One more pass by Smashley is going to put 4 more on the board, and the Midnight Terror are going to close out the half very strong. It's going to be a 118 to 53 score for Wasatch going into halftime. It's going to be a 15-minute intermission. Give you an opportunity to go grab a snack, go do whatever you got to do, get some fresh air, enjoy some sunshine. But you got 15 minutes to get on back here. We've got 30 more minutes of action and nothing decided between Wasatch Roller Derby Midnight Terror and the Kansas City Roller Warriors All-Stars. My name is Mr. Clitter once again. So happy that you could join us. I'm going to take a break, but I will be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back to BESTERNS 2017, folks. My name is Mr. Clitter. We've got just about a minute remaining in halftime between Wasatch Roller Derby's Midnight Terror and Kansas City Roller Warriors All-Stars. Your halftime score, 118-53 in favor of Wasatch. Just to bring you up to speed, Kansas City started off strong with a quick 9-0 jam, and then after that, Wasatch took control. And at one point in time, went on something like a 47-3 run. Kansas City then regrouped, came out with a couple of different strategies, slowly starting to climb back into this, but a late surge at the end of the first half has given Wasatch a very comfortable lead. Kansas City is wearing the lighter colored jerseys on your screen. Wasatch wearing the dark colored jerseys. We've heard the whistle to end halftime, so our next whistle is the beginning of the second half. Jessica Boom out there for Kansas City, and the captain, Ole Chole, for Midnight Terror. The pack really setting up nice and tight to the jam line, so both jammers kind of go in what I would refer to as a shotgun formation, giving themselves a little bit of momentum before they tackle into these blockers. Ole Chole dealing with Foxy Brown in a 3-wall at turn 1. Jessica Boom at turn 1 kind of picks and chooses and gets through, and Jessica Boom, first lead jammer call of the first half, goes to Kansas City. Ole Chole recycled back by Foxy Brown at turn 1. And there's Foxy to meet her again at turn 2. On a no pass, no penalty, Ole Chole is out and eligible for points as Jessica Boom flies through the pack and hits the track hard on the inside part of the backstretch, then calls it off. It's 3-0. First blood of the second half goes to Kansas City.
Score 56-118 after the first jam of the second period. Transfer coming out the jam for Wasatch. Third on again. Accelerator for Kansas.
Smashley and Accelerator on the line. Pack setting up by the pivot line. Smashley very successful on the outside path. This time, though, goes up the middle and then works her way slowly outside. Hits the track hard at turn 1, but bounces back to work on the other end. It's going to be Accelerator. 2 jams in a row for Kansas City, grabbing that lead so that they can command the action. Smashley out and eligible for points. Our first penalty of the second half. Assessed to Raina Payne, the blocker for Kansas City. 1 pass and a tap of the hips, and Kansas City gets 3 more points on the board. 118-59, 28 minutes to go. 4-3 pack advantage for Wasatch. When that whistle blows, it's going to be Suki Slaphouse down on the star for Midnight Terror, and Skatel Attraction back to work for Kansas City. Suki just pushing through the outside, grabs that lead call. Then it was number 77, Pebbles, putting the hit there on Suki at turn 1. Suki, though, already declared lead. Pebbles hit the track. It's considered out of play, no recycling needed. Suki on a pass. Suki with a quick tap. And Wasatch gets their first points of the second half. It's going to be a 4-0 tally for Midnight Terror. 122-59, 27 and a half to go here in the second half. Eve Illness and Ole Chole. Kind of a scattered pack around the pivot line. 4-3 pack advantage for Wasatch. Ole quickly seeing her way through her own teammates and then attacking the 3-wall at turn 1, getting some help from Super Smash Brawler, and that should be an assist for her on the lead call. Now a 4-wall to meet Ole. Super Smash Brawler helping her out at turn 1. I gotta say, I hope nobody is tired of hearing me say this. If you have, that means you've actually been listening to me for a while. But I am very, very happy when I see blockers getting in on the action, helping out their jammers. It's kind of a cliche in the sport, but it's very impressive and a thing of art when you see it. Super Smash Brawler doing a great job helping out Ole Chole there. Ole, 5 points. Midnight Terror. Raina Payne going back to the penalty box. Looks like it's a back block call there, but we'll have to see if penalties start to play in on this as well. That was one of the things that was not helping Kansas City in the first half, an accumulation of penalties. Jam comes to a close. Wasatch is going to win the frame. 9-0, bringing their total to 131. Kansas City holding steady at 59. I see a lot of thumbs up coming from the Wasatch bench. They definitely like what they're seeing out there. Jessica Boom and Smashley on the line. 4-3 advantage for Wasatch in the blocker department. Jessica Boom, lead jammer for Kansas City. Smashley still pushing through on the backstretch against Enigma. Enigma has just been so prevalent all over the track all weekend long. Jessica Boom hits the pack, gets that signal from her bench, calls it off. The Wasatch bench was screaming for a track cut at the very beginning of that jam, and now I see the Wasatch coach marching out to talk to the jam refs. So we may have an official review. We'll just have to see. Indeed, after a discussion, the official review sign, taking a look, I don't even need to wait on interpretation. I know exactly what they're going to be taking care of. Wasatch wants a track cut call on Jessica Boom from that last jam. I did not have a good vantage point to see if there's a valid point there, so I'll just wait to see what the Zebras say, relay that message, and see how it plays out in the next frame. Don't forget, folks, the winner of this bout has a quick turnaround. They get enough time to maybe wipe the sweat off their brow, get a snack, maybe something to drink, and then they're going to be right back here on the track against the Boulder County Bombers All-Stars at 2 p.m. I can also tell you that the loser of this bout will play tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. So if you are not able to be with us here at Foothills Fieldhouse, either way, you still have the opportunity to support your squad. If it's the winning squad, just stay tuned here, and at 2 p.m. you'll be able to see them again. If your squad does not come out on top, mark your calendars. 9 a.m., set an alarm on your phone. 9 a.m. Mountain Time is when they are going to get rolling. I'll be on that call here in the house with Bananica Split, a junior skater, actually Team USA junior skater. Raucous Ron will be on the broadcast, so looking forward to that. Coaches meeting in the center of the track to hear about the results of the discussion. Head referee doing the explanation. I see some head nods from the Wasatch coach, so I'm going to assume that Wasatch is not going to win this challenge.
Okay, so the information has been relayed. We can say that it is determined that the skater that Jessica was...
Indeed, there is no track cut assessed, so Wasatch loses that challenge. Kansas City will have a jammer when we start. It's going to be Accelerator. Chiquita out there for Wasatch, 5-on-5 derby. Chiquita Abamia pushing through a 3-wall at turn 1. Accelerator as well. Now Chiquita has advanced her 3-wall to turn 2. Chiquita Ella es el jammer principal para Wasatch. Accelerator tiene problemas con Wasatch. En el área derecho de la pista. Al otro lado, Chiquita. Está empujando y ella está marcando. 5 puntos para Wasatch. Y con un toque del casco a las caseras, este es el último momento de este jam. 136 to 63, 23 minutes and change. Wasatch wins that frame 5-0. Five-on-five derby. The captain, Ole Chole, on the line for Wasatch, and Skatal Attraction back out there as well. Full complement of skaters. Ole Chole has trimmed the defensive front for Kansas City down rapidly. And your lead jammer right away goes to the Midnight Terror. Skatal Attraction bumped off on the inside part of turn 1. Swings back around and attacks. Ole Chole and Enigma battling things out at turn 3. Enigma just kind of stopping, but has to let Ole Chole go, and that is going to be a grand slam for Midnight Terror. Super Smash Brawler goes to the penalty box, so when this next jam begins, Wasatch will be down a blocker. Just under 22 minutes remaining in this one. Wasatch with a 141 to 63 advantage. Smashley and Jessica Boom battling things out again. Smashley has found a home on the outside and tried it again. Got bumped off this time, but very quickly gets back to work and attacks that outside edge once again. Kansas City was ready for it at turn 1, and Smashley called on a track cut. So a power opportunity for Jessica Boom and Kansas City. Pack's going to set up at turn 1. Play called off. A good hit there. That's none other than Riot Atcha with a good hit at turn 1. Then the Pack is going to reform around turn 1 as Jessica Boom gets recycled back to the pivot line. Jessica Boom called on it back blocks. Let's flip that coin. We're going to make this a power opportunity for Wasatch and Smashley. It also means we're probably going to go that full 2 minutes. There goes Smashley through the Pack. Eligible for points. Pack's going to set up along the backstretch just past turn 2. Jessica Boom standing in the box, looking to be released, so less than 10 seconds on that penalty. Smashley pushing through a 3-wall at turn 3, fighting through, keeping those legs going, and good things happen when you do that. That's a grand slam for Midnight Terror as Jessica Boom flies around the track and engages the Pack on the backstretch just before turn 3. Penny Slane doing a good job using the hips and bumping Jessica Boom off at turn 4. Smashley on the other end gets through and tallies more points for Wasatch. There's a little chaos created, and Jessica Boom can get through for 4 points as Smashley taking advantage of the same chaos, getting 4 points of her own. By now, the Pack has moved all the way around the track and is at turn 1 where Jessica Boom engages. Gets bounced around, hop, skip, and a jump around Riot Atcha, and 2 minutes expires. But Jessica Boom, with that aggressive skating, gets 4 more points on the board. Wasatch, however, wins the total frame 14-8, 19.5 to go, 155 to 71 in favor of the skaters from Utah. Timeout called on the track by Kansas City. Wasatch came into Besterns with a record of 1-2 in 2017. They defeated Sacred City earlier this year, fell short against Calgary and Tucson. If you count yesterday against Rocky Mountain, they are now 1-3 on the season. On the other side, Kansas City comes into Besterns with a 3-0 record. They, however, fell short against Sac City yesterday. Now they are 3-1. They were ranked 54th. Wasatch came in at 45th. Yesterday was a very interesting day here at Besterns. We had 7 bouts, 6 of which were won by the lower-ranked teams in the WFTDA rankings. A very interesting day. The one team that won, who, if you put stock into those rankings, the one team that won, depending on those rankings, was Arizona Roller Derby. They had a big victory. Otherwise, it was all lower seeds that were victorious yesterday. Okay, timeout is over. Back to the action. Ole Charlie wearing the star for Wasatch. And Lady Killshot, who traditionally has been wearing the star as a pivot, is now lined up on the jam line. She flies through and is your lead jammer. Ole gets bumped off, tries to play a little bit of defense as Killshot coming through on her first scoring pass. Big pushing effort, all kinds of pile up and skaters leaving the track. We got a penalty to Bruiser Ego hanging out in the penalty box now. Big hit at turn 1. Sends a couple skaters off the track. The jam, however, is called off. And Kansas City's going to win the frame 4-0. 155, 75, 80 points separating the two squads. Just under 19 minutes to go. Suki Slaphouse getting ready to go back to work for Wasatch. And Eve Illness out there for the Roller Warriors. Suki dealing with a 3-wall, gets bumped down to the track. Eve bumped off on the outside. Riot Atcha and Penny Slane doing a great job for Wasatch. Both of these jammers doing a fantastic job of keeping those legs moving. Sometimes you meet that resistance. Once those legs stop, you're in really big trouble. But they're doing a great job of continuing to push. Suki Slaphouse taking full advantage of it as well. She is your lead jammer. Riot Atcha called on a penalty, so Wasatch going to be down a blocker for the next 30 seconds or so. Star pass initiated and completed. Enigma will be your jammer of record for Kansas City as Suki makes the pass, puts 4 points on top for Midnight Terror, and then it's like a timing thing. They were hoping to kill the penalty on Riot Atcha. Couldn't quite do that. And an official review is being called by Kansas City. I'm going to go silent for just a minute, take off the headphones, and see if I can figure out what's going on and report that on to you. Alrighty, back to the action. Apologize for the silence. I wanted to figure out what was going on with that official review. Kansas City wanted a penalty on the pivot for Wasatch for some incidental contact. However, after review, they are going to lose that battle, so no penalty assessed. We're back to work. Smashley is your jammer with a hop, skip, and a jump over that apex. She grabs lead jammer, and that skip gives you 5 points. It's also a power jam as accelerator hanging out in the penalty box. Wasatch about to get all of their blockers back onto the track. We Smasha standing and released. And just as I say that, I didn't notice that Penny Slane is also hanging out in the box, so Wasatch only had 2 blockers out there. Now they have 3. Not to be outdone, Raina Payne, though, going to the penalty box for Kansas City. She has been here quite a bit, so I wonder if we're getting close to that 7, that critical 7 penalty mark for her. Kansas City would certainly be hurting without her. Accelerators out of the penalty box and through the pack on that initial pass. Smashley making one more pass. Taps the hips. It's going to be 4 more on the board, and Wasatch wins the frame after the timeout, 14-0. We've got 16 minutes, 24 seconds, and counting. Your current score, 178-75. Wasatch now with over a 100-point lead. 103 is their lead. Ole Chole on the line for Wasatch, and in a very big shotgun start, Jessica Boom rolling up to the line as the whistle blows. Jessica Boom inside path. Kansas City has the lead. Ole Chole fighting off the hip from Enigma on the backstretch, and Ole is eligible for points. As Jessica Boom cruises through the inside, looks around and taps those hips. No points are going to go up top for Wasatch, but 4 are going on the board for Kansas City. Once again, the 2 o'clock game features the winner of this bout versus the Boulder County Bombers All-Stars. Justice Feelgood Marshall, the one and only man himself, will be on the mic in the broadcast. For those of you on the stream, I'm going to be calling it, but I'm going to be doing it here in the house. That action begins promptly at 2 p.m. I'm impressed with the way that the Rocky Mountain Roller Girls have put this entire event together. Not only have we had 7 games yesterday, but this is the 3rd bout today. Everything's running smooth. Everything is on time. Sometimes you get involved in some of these bigger events, and it's an approximation of when things will start. But we're staying very, very consistent, and that's a testament to the organization of the Rocky Mountain Roller Girls, who have put on Westerns and been incredible hosts. Chiquita is your lead jammer. She's already made it through for 5 points for Wasatch. Raina Payne hanging out in the penalty box again. Now about to be released as Chiquita getting another 5 up top. Star pass completed, and Kansas City has their pivot, who is now your jammer. That's Lady Killshot. Chiquita, one more pass. That's another 5 points. Yoko, oh no, you didn't for Kansas City now in the sin bin. Lady Killshot still fighting through the pack at turn 4. Chiquita bumped off on the inside part of 4. Has to go back to turn 3 to rejoin. Killshot bumped off on the outside of turn 4. Kind of an awkward fall there. And this one is going to be blown dead because of that injury. Lady Killshot took a fall that is just one of those awkward things. It wasn't malicious. It wasn't a big impact concussive hit, but just kind of those awkward things when bodies get tangled. Good news is she fell right in front of the EMTs, and they are on her right now, making sure that everything is okay. And this injury timeout comes with 13 minutes and 39 seconds. 196-79, the round of applause. Lady Killshot appears to be okay, moving on her own power. Going to go hang out with the EMTs for a few minutes, make sure everything is all right. Coach Yoshi also made the trip over there, wanted to make sure his skater was A-okay. Official timeout due to that injury. We're going to reset and get back to work. Kansas City will start with just the 3 blockers out there, as Yoko Ono You Didn't is still hanging out in the penalty box. Kansas City trying to mix things up a little bit as well. It looks like Pebbles is going to don the star and jam for the All-Stars. Smashley going back to work for Midnight Terror. Smashley tries that outside path that she's made a living on all bout long. Still continue to push, and that pays off. She's not just making a living, she's getting promotions and looking for early retirement with that outside path. Smashley's your lead jammer. Pebbles not far behind, though, as that pack speeds up around turn 2 along that backstretch. Everybody looking for that front part of the pack. Smashley calls it off. Looks like Kansas City, with the aggressive play by Pebbles, is going to win the frame 2-0, even though Wasatch had command of the jam as lead. Ole Chole, Jessica Boom renewing their rivalry on the jam line. It's like we've got a 4-3 advantage for Wasatch in the pack. Ole right through, very little resistance. Lead jammer for Wasatch, and the penalties are going to start adding up as Foxy Brown, who was already in the penalty box, is about to be set free, but going to be joined by Erin O'Bragg. Big collision at turn 1. Looks like a skate to the face, so injury timeout. Very obvious. Our EMTs have been way too busy in this bout. Got 12 minutes, 20 seconds to go in this one. Your current score 201-81 in favor of Wasatch. But obviously what we're taking a look at now and where our concerns are the fallen skater at turn 1. Took a skate to the face. Enigma over there checking things out, the EMTs. Making sure that Jessica Boom is okay. She's sitting up. Helmet is off. Yeah, Jessica Boom up on her own power. Moving gingerly, but moving nonetheless. That is always a good sign. It's amazing that that type of thing doesn't happen so more often. You've got just skates and elbows and people and helmets flying all over. But Jessica Boom appears to be okay. She's going to head on down to the EMTs and hang out there. Hopefully we'll see her back in action.
I love the Spanish announcing.
Alrighty, that whistle gets us back to work. The injury timeout over. Jessica Boom gets some attention on the side. Kansas City's going to be down 2 blockers. That's the bad news. The good news is they have a power start. Accelerator wearing the star. As the whistle blows, everybody focusing on Accelerator. Accelerator pushing through. And at turn 1, she is your lead jammer. Pack kind of loitering around turn 1. Accelerator starts on the outside, goes right up the middle, and on the backstretch, Kansas City gets 5 up top. Erin O'Bragg rejoining her teammates on the track after her penalty expires. And the power opportunity could be very good now as Wasatch loses Chiquita as a blocker. So a little bit more real estate for Accelerator to take care of. With 5 points going up top for the Roller Warriors. And the power jam will be extended as a track cut is called on Ole Chole for Wasatch. Accelerator hopping back on the track, but Foxy Brown, a little bit of a clockwise block, so she didn't even argue. She knew exactly what happened. She's going to the penalty box. Accelerator. Otra vez 5 puntos para las damas de Kansas City. Este es un gran momento para las damas, las correras, ¿sí? Jam comes to a halt just before Ole Chole can get back on, but it's going to be a victory in the frame of 15-0 for Kansas City, 199-96, 10 minutes, 45 seconds, and counting. Suki Slaphouse back out there for Wasatch, and Pebbles going to go back on the line for Kansas City. Suki working outside, following the block of her blocker. I got to give credit there. Obliterator just sealed off the outside path. And Suki just kept the wheels rolling to grab lead. Pebbles not far behind, actually. Eligible for points. Foxy Brown knocking Suki Slaphouse off the track on the outside part of the backstretch, forcing that call off. And we're going to have a scoreless jam. Taking a look at the schedule, and I have misled you. I am sorry. Boulder County is playing in this next bout at 2 p.m., but they are not going to be playing the winner of this one. They will be playing the winner of the previous bout that took place at 10 a.m. That was between Sacred and No Coast, so it'll be No Coast who won that bout against Boulder. For those of you Wasatch and Kansas City fans who maybe thought that you'd watch a doubleheader for your team, I apologize. Please send all your commentary to my boss, and I'm sure I'll be fired by tomorrow morning. Nevertheless, your teams will be playing again. The winner of this game, which is Game 10, will be playing again at 4 p.m. Make sure that I've got that right. That is correct. They'll be playing against Tucson. The loser of this bout will be playing again, but not until tomorrow. And that'll be bright and early at 9 a.m. on Mountain Standard Time. Ole Chole, the captain, wearing the star for Wasatch. We've got Evilness wearing the star for Kansas City. Ole lead jammer on the backstretch. Penalty to Foxy Brown. Triple Lex set free from the penalty box, so Wasatch has their full complement of skaters as Ole continues to roll it up. 5 points for Midnight Terror. Suki Slaphouse was your pivot for Wasatch, goes to the penalty box. It's a power jam now for Wasatch as Evilness goes to the box. Another grand slam, the captain leading by example. Foxy Brown release, looking to join the Roller Warriors. That pack moving pretty fast. Out of turn 3 into turn 4. Ole Chole bumped off from her seat, decides, you know what, I'm going to call this one off. Just about 7 minutes remaining. 2:12 to 1:01 in favor of Wasatch. It's a good timed call off there by Ole as she freezes Evilness, the jammer for Kansas City, in the penalty box. Chiquita Wabamia is going to have a power start, however brief that happens to be. Otherwise, we have all of our blockers on the track. They're hanging out by the pivot line. Chiquita. Usando la fuerza, y es jammer principal para Wasatch. Evilness pasa por el grupo ella. puede marcar puntos para Kansas City. Chiquita marca un punto para Wasatch y esto se acabó. We're going to be just under 6 minutes when the whistle blows again. Currently 213 to 101 in favor of Wasatch. Kind of a penalty-riddled second half, but right now we've got all 5 skaters on the track. Smashley, who has dominated that outside part, is going up against Accelerator for Kansas City. Smashley starts outside and at turn 2 on the inside edge, grabs lead. Multiplayer block is called and assessed. Serve to the pivot for Wasatch. That's going to be Suki Slaphouse hanging out in the sin bin as Smashley passes one more time for 5 points. Lady Killshot was your pivot for Kansas City, is now donning the star as Smashley making one more scoring attempt and tapping those hips. Looks like 3 more points are going to go up top for the skaters in blue. At the very end of that frame, we have a penalty assessed to Roby. So Kansas City will have one less blocker on the track. Suki Slaphouse still hanging out as well. And an official timeout being called. We have 4 minutes, 40 seconds to go in the second half. 2:21-101 is your current tally. Looks like we got a clock adjustment, so instead of 4:40, we now have 4 minutes and 44 seconds. Nothing changes on the point tally, so it's still 2:21-101. That whistle ends that official timeout, and the next whistle will get us back to work. Ole Chole out there for Wasatch. Pebbles donning the star again for Kansas City. Keeping those legs moving on the outside. Pebbles plows over Riot Atcha, and Pebbles with authority grabs that lead call. Ole Chole hot on the trail as well, but Pebbles definitely putting some energy into the Road Warriors. Ole Chole recycled back behind Enigma. Pebbles, though, called for a track cut, so we are going to have a 2-minute jam and a power opportunity for Ole Chole and Wasatch. Got to credit Pebbles, though, came out with incredible energy, put a shoulder into the Wasatch blocker, and was not going to be denied as your lead. Foxy Brown going to the penalty box again. Got to wonder how many that is for her. I don't have those stats in front of me. Ole Chole making a pass for 5. Wasatch continue to roll things up. Pebbles serves her penalty, gets back into the mix, gets bumped off the inside part of turn 3, and has to recycle back behind Penny Slane along the backstretch. Two-minute jams are always challenging. I'm sure it's especially challenging for two squads in their second bout, but also at altitude specifically for Kansas City, as Wasatch is at a fairly high altitude as well. It's probably not as big a difference coming over to Colorado for them as it would be for Kansas City. Enigma accepts the star and is now your jammer of record for Kansas City. 2 minutes expires. Ole Chole was right there with the pack, but is not going to tally any more points. Looks like it's going to be a 9-3 score in favor of Wasatch during that frame. 2 minutes, 29 seconds, and counting. Skatel Attraction and Smashley. 4-on-3 pack advantage for Wasatch. Smashley, guess what? Outside, guess what? Lead jammer Wasatch. Skatel Attraction out as well, so both jammers looking for points. To Smashley with a hop of the apex. Sometimes you're just showing off, Smashley. That's going to be a 4-point tally. But you've earned that right. You certainly put in your work in the previous 58 minutes of action. Just about 90 seconds remaining in this one. Potentially our final jam of the bout. Accelerators got the star for Kansas City, and Suki Slaphouse going back to work for Midnight Terror. 4-3 is that pack advantage for Midnight Terror as Suki starts inside. Quick move to the outside, and at turn 1, you are the lead jammer, Suki. Foxy Brown serves a penalty, gets back out onto the track. Suki bumped off on the backstretch right in the middle. Has to recycle back behind Enigma, but the jam is going to be called off. 1 point tallied for Midnight Terror. Kansas City held scoreless.
In the left lane, so let's leave some extra room.
34 seconds and counting. Here we go. Last jam is going to feature Eve Illness and Smashley. Pack advantage to Kansas City. Turn 1 is where we had the bottleneck. Smashley fighting through that 4-wall. Evilness fighting through a 3-wall and gets bumped off, has to recycle back to the pivot line. Smashley just past turn 2, lead jammer Wasatch. Game clock has expired, and that is exactly what Smashley was thinking with a quick tap of the hips. No more points will be tallied, and Wasatch is going to be victorious. Your final score, 235 to 104 in favor of Midnight Terror. So they will play again today. Make sure I get this right so everybody watching on the stream knows when to tune in. They will be playing at 4 p.m. against Tucson. So Midnight Terror fans, make sure at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time you are on this stream. You get to see the Wasatch Roller Derby Midnight Terror square off against Tucson Roller Derby Saddle Tramps. For Kansas City, your team will skate again as well. That is going to be at 9 a.m. tomorrow Mountain Standard Time, and Kansas City is going to battle it out with the loser of our previous game. That would be Sacred City. So everybody hopefully has their schedules. You know when to tune in. My name is Mr. Clitter. It's been one heck of a fun time. I'm going to go do the house call next. I'll be back on the broadcast a little bit later. Looks like 6 p.m. I am making the call on the broadcast. Hey, wouldn't mind if you join, throw out some messages, some shout-outs, and some love to the roller derby community. I'm going to sign off. Have a fantastic day.